when she fought Titan at the very beginning of this game, and looking at her face, right?
Yes.
And
it's just blank,
she
emotionless.
She just was completely void of emotion.
That's a good point.
And you could see some strategic thought as to what was happening, or what was going to be my next move. But like she was so blank-faced, just stone-faced, and not
apathetic.
Yes,
totally.
Whereas Titan's all upset and raging, and all of the other icons that we see in the game, it's like they have a deep personality.
For sure.
Garuda for sure. But then she was just emotionless.
Yep.
And knowing that now, and then going back and remembering how I had seen her portrayed before, it's like sad.
Yeah.
Like, it's like really sad. But it's like I saw that in her, but I didn't know that that's what it was. Now I know what it was, and like, oh man, it makes the previous scene. So on a second playthrough of this game, for example, that scene's going to hit a lot differently than it did.
Welcome back to the State of the Arc podcast. My name is Mike.
My name's Kaysen.
We're back to discuss Final Fantasy XVI. We left off as Jill and Clive are on their way to Drake's Breath to destroy the Mother Crystal, which is held by the Iron Blood. They had just passed the town of Amber. Now they have arrived at the gate that leads to Port Isolde, which is where they're going. They're first, before they have to get a ship in order to get there. So they're going to Clive's uncle Byron.
Yep.
They're on their way to meet him, hoping that he will give them help.
Yeah. And hoping that he's still a good person.
I was surprised that such a person would have been left in power at all by Annabelle.
I am too, but he does talk about how he has consented to a lot of the evil that has been going on.
He has a line later on where he apologizes for that. So we'll get to that in a minute. But I was surprised at this point playing the game. I'm like, why would his uncle still be in any position?
I know. The brother of Owen Rossfield, was that his name? The brother of the father? Elwyn, that was it. The brother of Elwyn Rossfield would for sure have been killed.
I would think so.
If his son had to be killed, his brother probably should have been too.
I would think so.
But once again, this is what we encountered in the previous city, of people just being like, keep your head down and don't say anything wrong. And then, like, you can live a not quality life that way, sure, and you can watch horrific things happen around you if you do that, yes. You will eventually probably be killed anyways. But that seems to be Byron's approach as well, is like, hey man, I'm just going to do what I need to do to survive, and I'm not really going to worry about this other stuff.
Rob is saying it's because he is super rich. But my question would be, you could kill him and just take his money. In an empire, I know, kill him and take his money, right?
Money doesn't do as much. Look at what, gosh, I don't want to pick on China, but look what happened to Jack Ma.
Oh, yeah.
Jack Ma became one of the richest people in the world, and the Chinese government was just like, hey, you're done now. And what do you do when you're in a totalitarian type government, when you're in a government that has that much control? You can't do anything. Like Byron, what can he do against such reckless hate? As the emperor, right? The emperor has absolute authority and can just take his money. Yeah. His money is not his.
Unless, I think there are ways you can explain this. Yeah. How much influence does he have? Does he have... I would assume he doesn't have any kind of army or anything, or a militia or anything.
No, he might have a guard or two,
but
nothing, yeah.
But maybe his connections, business connections... Yeah. It would be more of a pain to get rid of a guy than to just leave him there.
As long as he's not fighting
you. The money can keep flowing in taxes-wise.
That's a good point.
And the economy can continue to, as long as we're sure he's going to, we threaten him sufficiently to where he will not, resist.
He's not.
Maybe it's less of a pain to just leave him alone.
That's it.
I could see that being.
That's good political thinking. Yeah. That's probably what happened.
Anyway, he's still there. So Clive's going to go see if they can get some help. But they get stopped at the gate because they're not letting anybody through. There's all these refugees out there trying to get in, and they're like, no, F off. Like, we're not letting you in. We'll start cutting you down. Oh, why don't you just try it? And they're like all arguing.
Well, because they're starving. They're like, my kid hasn't eaten in 3 days. Like, we are not leaving. You're going to have to kill me because we're going to die of starvation anyways. Yeah. And they're saying because of the blight, there's just not as much food as there used to be. Another thing, too, did we already talk about the people who were, like, crucified or strung up on pikes?
Oh, we forgot to mention that, but they saw that on the way there,
So there was another city where people were strung up on pikes,
bearers,
basically.
I think.
And bearers, upside down, right side up. Right. They were tied to a stake, basically, but lifted way up into the air.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting is the empire, basically, they have the city called Twinside, and the tops of every building in Twinside is this massive pike that reaches up taller than the building itself, going huge, way high up into the sky. It's crazy, and it does remind one of something along the lines of a cross being at the top of a cathedral or a church or something like that. Because the goddess Grieger, this is really good, we're going to talk about this in this episode, but behind the emperor is this huge mural of Goddess Grieger.
Oh, yeah.
It's like a cool,
it's really cool,
Baroque. It's really
cool. Awesome.
The Goddess Grieger is standing atop a dragon holding a spear. The spear is Grieger's weapon of choice, it seems.
Yes.
This is the weapon.
That's where the dragoons get their...
There you go. The dragoons have the spear.
Right. They're lancers, right?
So, when we now see these bearers and the creative way in which they were killed being put up on these spear pikes, basically, it's essentially something like what crucifixion was to the Christians. This is what the Grieger, this is what the Sambrec kind of region, this is how they kill people. It reminds me a little bit of Vlad the Impaler, although these people didn't quite look impaled. They were just like tied to it and then left to burn in the sun and die slowly, which is horrific.
Really bad.
But the imagery here of seeing all these steeples with a bearer on top of each one, and then when we go and see Twinside, look at that city and just imagine a bearer on each one of those pikes, steeples, basically. And that is, that's creepy. But you can tell that this is something of a, it's a creative way to kill people, but it matches up with specifically like the iconography of their religion.
I think that's right.
Yeah, or at least the city and their local beliefs kind of stuff. So anyways, really creepy stuff.
Yeah, so they can't get into Port Isolde, but he remembers Byron telling him about this sort of underground passage called the Lazarus District.
And we're in Rosaria, basically, right?
Yes.
This is great. You've got Joshua, you've got the Phoenix, you've got Lazarus, you've got these motifs of death and rebirth, like coming back from the dead kind of stuff happening here.
So they head in there thinking the district is abandoned. Turns out it's not. There are bandits and outlaws there.
Yeah, I wrote down that they thought these paths were abandoned.
I thought these paths were abandoned.
Yeah, so...
but here's the thing, though. So we get ambushed, right, as we're going through there, right? It's like, no, these people show up. We kill them.
This has happened a couple times.
It says
this happened
Slade
here. Yes, I know.
Yes.
In the quest completed thing or whatever. Here, and this also happens again later in Dalamil.
Yes, I remember.
You don't kill the dudes, you just beat them up.
I didn't think so.
But it definitely looks like you killed the dudes.
It basically seems like we massacred them. And I keep my notes throughout this whole thing. I'm just like, wow, they're really cool with us, given that we killed 8 of them.
Yeah.
But,
I don't think in this scene, or in the one later in Dalamir, they actually killed those people. It was just like they subdued them. Sure. And then they were like, oh, man, you beat us up. Okay, that was a test. In this case, Sir Wade comes out and he recognizes Clive, and he's like, oh my goodness, you're still alive. So they have their, sort of reunion. They talk about old times and things like that. But essentially, Byron has been secretly funding his little group.
Yeah, this little rebellious group.
And
the returners.
Yeah, the returners, basically. And so he brings you in. What does he say here? He gives you some information about the state of the realm now, and the emperor has a new heir. So his mother, Annabella, has given birth to a new child, who is the emperor's son.
Yeah, Olivier,
I think is the way they say it. Yeah.
Yeah. Clive has a really good line here when speaking of Annabella. He says that she hated bearers, but she would never have overlooked their value to the realm.
Yes.
That's kind of been my criticism with a lot of what's been happening in the game, and I think it's been well addressed, right? Like, society and people and stuff is complicated. You can't, just because bearers are valuable, like I can still see them absolutely being enslaved and horribly treated despite their high value. Yeah. But then Clive is bringing up basically the same question that I was asking previously, even about the Iron Dominion with Ifrit, not Ifrit, with the girl Jill.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Where it's like, this is crazy. Like they hate dominance,
Yes.
but they would never question their what did he say? Would never overlook their value to the realm,
Yes.
right? It's basically the exact question that I've been having right here. And so this is good for me, I think, because this hints to me that, okay, they've acknowledged the game, the world, the story, the director, the writer. They've acknowledged that, yes, this isn't the most sound strategic way to deal with this kind of situation, but there's something else going on here. And that's, I think, the point,
Yes.
right? It's like, okay, what would drive people to get rid of something that is valuable to the realm on purpose, right? Because, and it can't, hate is not sufficient. This is what Clive is saying. Hating bears is not sufficient. You still want the money and the magic and the power, right? And so that once my concern has been addressed, even if it hasn't been answered yet, my feelings
They're
are
aware of
assuaged
it,
a little
yeah,
bit, and I'm just
right.
like, okay, I think they will answer. Give me an answer that that I can live with.
Sure.
It's coming. I just
Yeah.
have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, so Clive decides he's going to help Wade out there's this host of Black Shields who are on their way to do some more cullings. He wants to stop the cullings. So he's like, let's go take out this sort of main host and their sort of leader and put an end to
Right,
this
yeah.
in the area that they're in. So they go out and they do that. They fight together. It's kind of a cool moment. Fort Rosaria. They
Yeah.
go and fight him, kill him, and
It's really good. And then I love the way that the Black Shields have black mages that are wearing the hood, and they're all kind of dressed up like the black
Yes.
mages and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you get really good looks at them here. But
Yeah.
they're totally.
oh
black
yeah,
mages.
the mage
mages in the
enemies.
back, but the
Yeah.
way they're dressed, you can't see their face. They
Yep.
got the hood.
Yeah, it's kind of a
They're,
motif of a black mage class.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool.
Okay, so outside of that, I don't have much with Wade. I kind of just, my next is at Byron's Manor, but they
Yeah.
basically,
Well,
they
here's-
succeed, and he tells him
Yeah, they win.
you can get into his manor this way, and they let him go through, I'm guessing, the
There's
Lazarus path.
A tunnel kind of reminds me of Vagrant Story a little bit. You're going through these underground paths through this abandoned city, right? So
Yeah.
it's really good. This is a good line from Wade. He says, and this is the proper symbolism. This is the correct way to see it.
Yes.
Whereas the Black Shields were seeing it incorrectly. But Wade says, as long as the firebird burns in our hearts, Rosaria will not fall. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like you are the flame that keeps the city, and you are the
Yeah.
ones who will rebuild it when it falls.
Yes.
Right? Like the people are the flame. Anyways,
Yes.
it's really good. And so he basically writes the symbolism. He kind of sets it back up how it's supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
And he's, trying to make a stand for that. And I thought that was really good.
Yeah. So we cut ahead to Byron's Manor. They're telling him to wait, and they're going to go get Byron. And do you think they'll believe us? It's not a chance. He's going to believe that it's me. And Byron comes
No,
in.
but
How
he's got
dare
a
you
method.
claim to be my nephew,
Yeah.
you liar? Who are you? And he's threatening him or
I
whatever.
thought he would take one look and know immediately, because other
Well,
people
yeah.
did, like in Martha's Rest.
Yeah,
there were some
those people
around there.
recognized him right away.
They thought we were literally Owen.
Yeah, so especially the clothing, right? This is the clothing his brother would have worn growing up.
Exactly, the
But-
exact vest. Yeah.
Anyway, he doesn't believe him at
Yeah.
first. So in order to convince him, he starts repeating some lines from an old play
Yeah.
that maybe they used to reenact together.
Yep.
And it takes him off guard, and he responds with the other lines, and they have a moment. Oh, it really is you. It's
Yeah.
a nice little moment. And okay, we're gonna dine now. Bring the good plates. We're gonna eat. My nephew's here. He's in town.
Byron has a flair for the dramatic.
Yeah, for
He
sure.
loves the drama.
Yep. So while they're eating and catching up, and Clive's telling him his story up to now, Byron says something here. Something has changed. Quite what, I don't know. But the woman we knew, talking about Annabella, is gone, and a monster sits in her place.
Okay.
And again, on its face, I go, what are you talking about? She's always been this way.
Oh, well, you're right.
She's always been a
As far as
monster.
we could tell.
She's always been horrible.
Yeah.
But I think what he's saying is she's even worse.
That's
and it doesn't
crazy.
make sense, like you're saying.
Yeah.
In ways that don't make sense, she's somehow gotten
Something
even
else.
worse.
Yeah.
There's something else going on here.
Yep.
Which is, I think, foreshadowing the influence of Ultima.
Oh, of
Ultima
course, yes.
he's got his strings, and he's pulling them, and she's being pulled by them as well. That's what he's getting at, I think, with that line.
I agree. I also think this calls back a little bit to Final Fantasy VIII, which is really exciting.
Oh, okay.
Right. I don't want to say anything because it's basically
would be a spoiler for
but
FFA.
The woman we knew is gone and a monster now sits in her place.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yes,
it's,
I know what you're referring to.
It's just like, oh gosh, like that just kind of gave me some flashbacks. I thought that was really cool. Also, I mentioned earlier that the tunnels underneath the abandoned city reminded me a lot of Vagrant Story. And did you look above the fireplace? Did you see the symbol that was there?
I did not. What is it?
The rude inverse.
Really? It's in the
straight up.
What?
Well, not. It's more like the sword. Okay, so it's a sword going down with two other swords crossing it in the. So it is, but it's not like exactly the one from.
It's
from
not the
Vagrant
same
Story.
symbol, but
it's not like that wooden looking thing he fights with. But it's the same symbol, right? It's pointing down, right? And this is really good though, because you've got the sword in the middle that's pointing down towards the fireplace, the fire, right? We're talking about the phoenix symbolism, right? And this is going to help me read the phoenix emblem a lot better now when we ever get back to it. But then the other two swords making the cross are pointing towards those candles up on the mantelpiece that are burning. So the two swords on the X's are pointing downwards towards the flame, but the flame is rising upwards, right? That's just what flame does, right? Yeah. So you've got the weapons that are pointing down and then the flames that are rising up in direct proportion to the rude inverse that is on the wall.
Crazy.
Looks really cool.
Isn't the inverse, so the original symbol is the sword pointing down, and the inverse, I'm talking Vagrant Story, is it pointing up? That's what he has.
I thought the inverse was it pointing down.
The tattoo on his back.
Is it pointing up?
Is pointing up.
Then you're right. Then it's not the rude inverse.
Am I right, Rob? Rob is here. He knows everything about Vagrant Story.
That it's pointing down.
I thought the original symbol was the one pointing down, and the inverse was it pointing up. But I could be wrong. Rob would know. Anyways, we'll wait for him to respond. But
rude inverse.
See the sword going up?
Yeah, but is this the hilt?
I think the hilt is here, and the sword's going up.
But that's not a hilt.
Top of the blade, and this is where it crosses.
Well, I look at it here, though.
That's the other way.
Vagrant
Wait
Story.
a minute. That's not even
this is the rude. It's not the rude inverse.
So, seeing that one is pointing
this is
downward.
inversed.
Yeah, so here's the hilt pointing up. That's the tattoo that Sydney
so
has
this
on
guy
his
got
back.
it wrong.
He has it
He did it wrong.
way. He has the original symbol. It's not inversed on him, I think. But
okay, so I'm just seeing it both ways, so I have no way of knowing.
Hilt at the bottom, sword pointing up is the inverse.
Okay, I have to. Sorry, here it is. This is from the game. It looks to me like it's. It's not. Sorry. Where's the freaking?
I actually have struggled to find this. You have to do like a screenshot.
There's the sword, but
yes.
Okay. Sorry, guys.
Sydney's
this is very
is
important.
the inverse. Yeah, we know Sydney's is the inverse.
I know, but is the inverse
it pointing up? Is the one on Sydney's back pointing up? This is the question.
Here it is. It's pointing down.
Okay, so it's pointing down on Sydney. So the original symbol is up. The rude inverse is down.
So this is the rude inverse.
I was wrong. You were correct.
Okay. So this is the rude inverse. But, I just think that's kind of a cool way that they chose to use the symbol. I don't think it means anything directly pertaining to Vagrant Story. But really cool. I loved it. And the reunion is great, too. I love Byron. He's just a fun, he's a charming guy.
Yeah. Good character. So he gives them a ship so that they can sail into the boiling sea where the Mother Crystal is. I liked this line he said before they left, because he's like, or they say something like, what you believe us or something? And he's like, of course I don't. Like, a fool wouldn't believe half the things that you've claimed. And
you've always been a terrible liar.
And he says, I have it on good authority that Clive is telling the truth. And he says, whose authority? Why, your own, of course. You've always been a terrible liar.
There you go. His subconscious, right?
Yeah,
it betrays him.
He's like, I know you're not lying. So
I love that, because then Clive is like, Jill, am I a bad liar? And Jill's like, well, you aren't not. Or she does a double negative. She's like, Byron's not wrong. No, wait, I wrote it down.
Oh, yeah.
It's not untrue.
It's not untrue. Yeah, that's right.
That was so good.
Yeah.
I also misinterpreted it when it says we're going to get a ship. I thought we were going to get a ship.
Oh.
And we didn't get a ship.
Like
the cutscene got
a
ship
to sail with. It's just in the story they got a ship. In a classical Final Fantasy game, this would have been the time in which you get a ship to sail around the ocean with.
Which I thought was going to happen, but that's fine. It's fine.
It's all good. Okay, so now.
Oh, and then of course I have this line here, and I don't know. Okay, should I say this? I don't know what happens, But this line here, is this, even though it's speculative and I have no idea what's going to
Up
happen?
to the point I've played to, it hasn't happened. So
Okay. Byron's going to die.
you have a sense that he will die.
Yeah, I love the uncle a lot. He's really fun. He is important. He's building us this really deep emotional connection.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the point of it is so that we're very sad when he dies.
Could be.
I think that Byron is not long for this world, for Valisthea.
The part I've played up to, which is further than you, it's still not the case. So
okay, we shall see.
I guess.
We shall see.
Okay, I loved the use of magic in the next scene.
Oh, it was really
clever.
When you talked before about Brandon Sanderson's rules and stuff, and
the first rule or the first law.
This one made so much sense.
Yes.
Like this use of magic was so sensible and logical.
Yes, I loved it. So basically, first of all, it's a boiling sea. So the sea is hot already. It's a volcanic area.
Yeah. It would probably destroy a typical boat that was sailing through it.
So she's using her ice to basically create steam.
That's so cool.
That hides the ship.
It's like a dual purpose, right? It's like the water's boiling, which is dangerous in of itself, but when you cool it, it also creates steam.
Yes.
Like it's like you can do both things at once.
Yes.
Trouble being, Jill has to expend quite a bit of energy doing so, right? And Clive's starting to get upset that she has to expend so much energy, especially in part because he can't become Ifrit again the way that he used to, right?
Right. And so, he I think he asks her, like, where'd you learn how to do that? And she's like, well, they made me do this to conceal the Iron Blood fleets.
The fleets.
So this was like something I learned as part of being like their slave soldier. He's like, oh.
So once again, she's reliving her past.
Yes.
By being on this boat and doing this at all, she is exploring like the parts that she's locked away in her psyche. You could say that. And that it's all kind of coming back to her now.
Yeah. I wrote a line down from her. She says, when I served the Iron Kingdom, I did so because I saw no other choice, because once they learned that the lash would not move me, they turned it on those who could.
Yeah.
And so I became their puppet. I let them pull my strings, telling myself it was not my hand that swung the sword, but another's. I removed myself from the truth so I wouldn't feel the pain it caused. And before I knew it...
Disassociation.
Yeah. Before I knew it, I no longer felt anything at all. I had become a monster. I don't want to be a monster, Clive. Do you understand? I want to choose a different path, a better path, to live on my own terms. But before I can do that, I need to come to terms with my past. So that's what she is here for.
That's really good.
Not revenge.
Yeah, I like that. I do. Also, when she says that pretty soon she felt nothing.
Yes.
Do you remember when she fought Titan at the very beginning of this game and looking at her face, right?
Yes.
And
it's just blank,
she
emotionless.
She just was completely void of emotion.
That's a good point.
And you could see some strategic thought as to what was happening, or what was going to be my next move. But like she was so blank-faced, just stone-faced, and not
apathetic.
Yes,
totally.
Whereas Titan's all upset and raging, and all of the other icons that we see in the game, it's like they have a deep personality.
For sure.
Oh, Garuda for sure. But then she was just emotionless.
Yep.
And knowing that now, and then going back and remembering how I had seen her portrayed before, it's like sad.
Yeah.
Like, it's like really sad. But it's like I saw that in her, but I didn't know that that's what it was. Now I know what it was. And like, oh man, it makes the previous scene. So on a second playthrough of this game, for example, that scene's going to hit a lot differently than it did initially. Which is like, why does she not care? What's her deal? Why is she so emotionless?
Yes.
Now it's like, oh my gosh,
this
is a traumatized person.
Forced to do all of these terrible things. I mean, like horrible war crimes we're talking about. This is what she's hinting at, I feel like. And in order to continue doing that and tell herself it's not me, she has to suppress that emotion.
Once again, paralleling the society's treatment of bearers, right?
Yes.
And this is what I mentioned before with the woman whose child was a bear and all that. In order to move forward at all, in order to continue living, they have to like find a way to get around the fact that they're doing something horrible.
Yes.
Right? And it's like the mind is pretty good at rationalizing that kind of stuff for survival. And you see it in her use, but I also, just to maybe draw sympathy towards those who people may not think are deserving of sympathy, which is the bearer owners, right?
Yeah.
Those people have had to shut off a part of their emotions. The society itself has had to shut that off in order to survive they think.
Yes.
Now, as Jill is learning, I didn't have to do that.
Yes,
and I'm
exactly.
fixing it now.
Yes.
And that's the society's going to do the same thing. But this is a thing that everyone does. You do it, I do it, everybody does this. You know you're doing something wrong, and you just have to blot out the emotions so that you just don't feel bad about it.
Yes. So what's happening here, she's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
She's accepting the shadow that she did it. She
Yeah.
wasn't forced to do it by them.
She
chose
yeah.
to do it.
Yep.
And the reason she chose to do it
Right, there's
might
a
have
reason.
been because
Sure.
she thought others would suffer, but
Less,
she's
so-
causing
yeah.
suffering
Oh,
for
gosh.
these people
Yeah.
in order to save these people who don't end up getting saved anyways because the guy just
Right.
kills them.
So then
Even
kill. So you
she
killed and they killed and
became
everyone's just killing.
a monster by choice.
Yeah.
That's what she's accepting,
Yep.
and she's going to try to right that wrong by killing the guy who has enforced all of this and getting all of those victims out.
Yeah. I'm just in talking to you, you're helping me internalize from the last episode and now this one, Jill's character in a way that I'm starting to like her a lot better
Yeah.
as a character.
I think she's a great character.
And initially I wasn't so I mean I didn't think she was a bad character. I just wasn't feeling so much of her true emotions and thoughts, and she just kind of seemed a little too perfect.
Yes.
And
I think that's how a lot of people have been discussing her.
Yeah.
A lot of people have expressed that I've seen discourse online. Oh, this character is not very
she's too
developed.
one-dimensional, yeah.
She's they don't do much with this character.
Right.
I
I'm
think
seeing a lot deeper than those people would maybe are aware of.
I think that and I also felt that way originally
Me
on
too.
its face.
We
And
talked
I
about
think-
it last week.
Yes. I think there is something to her performance that is a
Maybe
little
the
bit
animation.
dry.
Yeah.
But the reason it's
But her
dry
emotionless.
is because she had shut off her emotions.
And turning them back on isn't that easy.
Right. So
Yeah.
she's not very expressive when she says this. We don't
That's
see the
true.
pain, but it's because she's learned how to push that all down and not feel anything.
Like, I
and that's
really feel for her
represented
character now.
in Shiva.
Yeah.
In the first battle
Yes.
where you see her.
Just blank face.
She just doesn't feel anything anymore.
Yeah.
So when I went back through this dialogue, I wrote it. This is why I like to write dialogue in the notes.
Oh, yeah.
That's why I do it so much.
Good.
Because there's another level of understanding that comes from me. I guess maybe the way that I learn when I write something.
When you write it.
And so I play the game, then I go back and I watch the scene again, and I write almost all the dialogue in scenes. Sometimes
You're almost embodying the writer himself when you
Yes.
do that.
That's essentially
And it
what I'm trying to
evokes-
do.
That's pretty cool.
So as I'm
practice.
looking at this, that's what she's saying, and it's like, oh, okay, I didn't get that on the first playthrough, but like that's actually really, really good
It's really
characterization.
good. It's really
It's
good.
really, really
Yeah.
well done.
And to the extent that I missed it, I would say that's more on me than on the director.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure, and I mean that happens all the time.
Oh, of course.
I do it all the time, and that's why I replay things so much.
Yeah, yeah.
Like I replay everything. There's almost no game that I have that I haven't at least played a couple times
Yeah.
because my first impression is rarely the one that is what I feel is like a good sort of like strong understanding.
You know what's
of the
funny?
game.
You can think of an impression or a critique or an analysis as being like when you first play the game, your initial knee-jerk reaction, that's like your first draft.
Yes.
Your first draft to the critique
Yes.
of the game, the
Yes.
criticism, the analysis, whatever,
Yes.
it's your first draft. It's your rough
Yes.
draft. And then when you play the game again, or as you, in your case, if you like watch it again after having
Yeah,
played it just
right.
to take notes, then you get more closer to like a final draft, right? Like,
Yes.
That's good. I love it.
Exactly.
Love
I mean, that I talked about that all the time with our Xenogears podcast because that was my second playthrough when we did the podcast, and it was like, oh my gosh, like especially with that game, it's like you had no idea. What
I
this
want
was
to
about
play
the
that
first
game
time.
again. Yeah.
It's a requirement to play that at least 2 times, if
The
not
game-
5.
The game's so long, dude.
But yeah,
Our podcast series on the game is probably 60 hours.
yeah, it's really long. Okay, so
Oh, I also got to bring up Jill is looking at the moon, but
Yes.
it's a gibbous now. It's not a crescent
Right.
or a full moon.
Right,
It's
it's
a
in a different
gibbous,
phase. Mhm.
which means it's either almost full,
Yeah.
or it just was full. So is it waxing or waning?
Yeah,
is the
right.
question. I don't know, but that is the question, right? Just like
Yes.
when you see a sunset or /sunrise in a movie, is the sun rising or setting. You just don't know. You have to use other ways to interpret it. I think it's
waxing.
Waxing.
Yes.
Yeah, not
that's
waning.
what I would say.
But it's so funny because this is the first gibbous that we've seen
Yeah.
in the game up to this point.
Yeah, because we've seen a crescent a couple times, I think.
Yeah, a couple crescents and a ton of full moons.
Ton of
the
full-
moon's freaking
yeah.
always full in this world.
Right.
I don't know how they work that out. Important things happen on full moons, and that is a medieval idea.
So I think they arrive on the island at this point, and Clive says, Jill, when you told me you had to come to terms with your past, you weren't talking about destroying Drake's breath, were you? This is why I think originally I thought it was about revenge. Because she says, no, I spoke of Imran, their
The priest, right?
high priest,
Or
leader
there's a
guy.
word. They call him the patriarch?
The patriarch, yeah.
Patriarch.
That's right.
That's the word, yeah.
The leader of the crystalline Orthodox.
Yeah.
The man who made me do all those unspeakable things. I'm going to kill him. It's what I need to do to put the past behind me. I think I took that line a little too...
Me too.
Serious, or I gave too much weight to it.
Yeah.
The reason
she's projecting her shadow a little too much.
She's not doing it for revenge. She's doing it because it's necessary to
atone.
Oh, yes.
Right? To right the wrongs.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And that's what Jill has monsters on her mind. I think there was something they were talking about before because they were saying, hey, what are you thinking about? You seem a little down. And she was like, oh, I'm just thinking of monsters because Byron had mentioned that instead of Clive's mother, that there's a monster that sits on the throne now, not Annabella. Right? And that may, of course, Jill. Now, of course, we had readings about that, of how that relates to the story. But we didn't yet talk about how Jill took that line, which is, that Annabella isn't there anymore. It's a monster in her place. Mm-hmm. And how would Jill think that? Because she's like,
good point.
I'm the monster. Like, I used to be a person, and now I'm not me. She doesn't feel like herself.
Yes.
She feels like she had to become a monster to survive, but that now she doesn't have to be a monster anymore. But she's still like that. Mm-hmm. She hasn't yet gone back and really atoned for what she's done. Right. She hasn't made things right, and she also has not confronted the monster that is inside of her, that is just below the surface now, that she is in polite company and she can suppress it. Not unhealthily at the moment, but hopefully in the future, not unhealthily, that it's just that she can bridle it like a horse. I mentioned that before.
Right.
But in her mind, she's the monster. And only when she's atoned for her sins will the monster cease to be. But it's a direct callback to that line right there.
Yeah. So as they make their way inside, there's a bunch of fighting, and they get over this bridge that had like lava spilling on it and a bunch of other stuff. They run into Lady Marley, who was a woman that Jill had known, been close to during her time as a slave there. And Marley tells them, because she asks, where is Imran? And Marley says, at this hour, he'll be in the comrake giving thanks.
Giving thanks.
And she says, oh, you mean, that fiend. So the implication is here, some sort of rite or human sacrifice is going on.
He's killing people, yeah.
And so we've got to get there right now, is what she says.
Now,
right?
I will point this out. This is interesting because they're talking about the church here as being the Orthodox religion, and that the leader's a patriarch, and that the patriarch's job is to give thanks, right? That this is lining up a lot of previous games, and even a lot of this game, you could say, could be referencing the Catholic Church directly. But this one seems to be representing sort of more of like the Eastern Orthodox Church. The leader of the Eastern Orthodox Church is called the Patriarch. By the way, I'm not saying it's one-to-one. And obviously, like, I like the Orthodox and Catholic churches. Like, I'm not like saying that like this is, but I think this is what they've chosen to base it off of, right?
Sure.
So I'm not saying that this is the actual Eastern Orthodox Church.
Yes.
I'm just saying that they're using it as a way to kind of like
inspiration,
tell
for
a greater story.
Yeah.
I don't think the Eastern Orthodox Church is evil, but it is led by somebody who's called the Patriarch, right? And he's the head. It's not a pope; it's a patriarch. And their church is called the Orthodox Church. And the word for the Holy Sacrament, the communion in the Catholic Church, right. I think Catholics use this word too, but it's a Greek word. It's Eucharist.
Oh yeah, the Eucharist. Yeah.
Eucharist in Greek means to give thanks. And it is also associated with sacrifice because it's Christ, of course. But the word like Thanksgiving, our holiday Thanksgiving. Yes. Is it's basically the Eucharist, right? And that's the idea. Even the Native American person who kind of brokered Thanksgiving 400 years ago was a Christian, and that was kind of like the idea there. But the word Eucharist, which is like the peak ceremony of the Orthodox faith is to give thanks. That's how you would translate that word.
Interesting.
So anywho, I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yep. So, they basically, we got to get to the Comric right now.
And there's like these earthquakes that have been happening.
Oh yeah, that's true. And they've been getting worse. And at first it was like, oh, that happens all the time. Don't worry about it. And then they've been getting.
Is that one to worry about?
And it's like, that was a little more intense.
That was pretty big, yeah.
And Ultima is tied to this too, which we'll find out in a minute.
Here's another thing, and this is so on point with the way that the slaves were treated in this game, the way the bearers are treated just in general, right? And these orphans being something along those lines. Marley, the first thing she asks Jill is if she got tired of her freedom already. Right? Because it's like, what are you doing back here?
Why did you
get
come
tired
back?
of your freedom?
Yep, that's
and
right.
it's like, oh gosh, what? Like to even ask that is like, what kind of, and of course, what we've been dealing with since that 5-year time skip is slaves who they feel like they can just stay in that place and that, well, this is how the world is and I'm not going to ask for much. And, I really don't want to be free, right? Like that quote we mentioned before that Harriet Tubman would have freed more slaves if only she knew they were, or if only they knew they were slaves.
I think that was falsely attrittered to her.
Now, who did say it? Because I read that comment too, and I'm like, oh shoot, I've been saying that for decades. Who did say it?
I'm not sure, but
either way, we don't know everything she said. She could have said it. You guys, come on. Anywho, the fact.
Pretend she said it.
Pretend she said it. She said something like it. Okay, but the fact still remains that. If slaves don't know they're slaves, right? And so when somebody gets free, right, and then they come back and it's like, oh, you had so much freedom that it turns out freedom's not so great, huh? It was actually probably better being a slave, huh? And that's almost a way of dealing with your own situation of being like, if you don't have freedom, then when other people have freedom and the freedom turns out to be a bad thing for them because they were free to make bad choices and those bad choices did bad things, then it's like, oh, see, glad I'm not free, but it's a way of justifying your own position a little bit. Right. Now, Marley obviously isn't like that to that extent.
I don't think, well, actually, now that I think
about it. I would
about
say that she has been.
Because I was going to say she doesn't have that tattoo, but I think that's only an imperial thing. They only do that in the Empire. I think these people
girls
could be bearers.
I think are still slaves,
but they just don't have because they just don't do that. They just don't do in the Iron Kingdom. Yeah. So they probably are.
Well, I'm not even saying that they're bearers. Just in whatever form they might be bearers, but they are slaves. Like they are.
Yeah, for sure.
They don't really want to be there. They don't like what the church people are doing.
Yes,
but they're there. So it's like something tells me it's against their will.
Yeah.
Right, but that they've rationalized it as like, well, free will isn't like the best thing ever. What if I made the wrong choice, So I may as well just stay here. People can get like that. And I felt like that line was really good, even though Marley's a great character and I don't think that but I feel like sometimes you just internalize that stuff and it comes out in sentences like that, where it's like, really? Did I enjoy yes, I enjoyed my freedom. Thank you very much. I'm here to free you now.
Yeah, right.
Anyways.
So... Lady Marley, some guys are coming up. She kind of bars the door. She's going to help you get there. And Jill saying, you and all the others, you got to get away right now. Things are about to go crazy. Please escape. Please live. Please go be free now. So she helps them get to a passage that'll take them to the Comrake. And then she and a bunch of others, they go get on boats and they row away and a bunch of them escape.
Yeah.
As we go and confront Imran in the Comrake. So they are performing some kind of human sacrifice. It
seems like
here.
They already did it, right?
Yeah, they're already dead.
Yeah.
He kind of takes off the.
Oh, there's a word for that.
I don't know what you'd call
that. The cloth that covers
the sacrifice.
The Eucharist. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever that thing is called. He lifts it up. There's
the cloth of the altar.
Dead bodies.
Yeah.
And anyways, she's furious at this point because she wasn't able to make it in time. He talks about how she's a monster, like the monster or the beast come back to bite the hand that feeds or something like that. Calls her a monster, and she accepts it. You're right.
That's good.
I am a monster, and my soul is stained black, though not with ether, because they believe using ether the way that people do is
that it ruins your soul.
Yeah, it's evil in their religion, the way that people use the crystals and the bearers and things like that in the mainland. So though not by ether, but by evil men like you, who made me close my heart and drown in darkness when I should have raged against it. This is my penance. I will be your monster no more, nor will I suffer you to create another. And so they're about to start fighting, and then we see the hooded dude kind of off in the distance, and he does some sort of gesture, and we get another volcanic sort of eruption, earthquake that happens.
It seems like Joshua.
It's not.
Okay, but it seems like it.
It does, because we've only seen Joshua wearing those clothes. But now
Right.
Joshua, we know it's not him, because in the scene that plays directly after this,
Joshua
is another place.
But in here, though. He's here, though.
He's
right?
not here. He's in another part of the twins, and he's wearing totally different clothing now.
Okay,
he wears
okay.
that red
Yes,
stuff
yeah.
now.
The red mage.
He's not wearing the
frock.
brown hooded clothing anymore.
That's right.
And he's off in some other place.
Oh, that's good to know.
Yeah. So this is not
okay.
Joshua.
Okay,
This is Ultima, basically. But I don't know how. I don't understand this yet, just because I'm not far enough. But somehow Ultima is able to sort of project and influence things, even though he's apparently trapped inside of Joshua at the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe he has some sort of, because Clive is there. So like wherever
sure.
Clive is, he has some way of...
Well, what he does
I don't know how,
is
but-
crazy, because
Yeah.
this hooded figure summons like a fire demon that made me
Yes.
kind of think like, is this a third icon of fire?
Yeah, right.
Like the beast that we end up fighting. It's like
Yeah.
a liquidy lava kind of thing. I think they
Yes.
call it, its name was Liquid Flame.
Liquid Flame.
Right. And I'm like, okay, this is like kind of crazy. But it kind of made me question everything that was going on. I don't think it was an icon, but...
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure this is Ultima doing this, not
Yes.
Joshua.
And in which case,
Yeah.
Ultima may have all the powers of all the dominants combined, right?
Well, at least he seems to be seeking that, right?
Oh, very interesting. Okay.
So, anyway, he makes that gesture. This lava monster comes out. And Jill primes and becomes Shiva, starts fighting.
Yes.
And Clive tries to, but is not able to fully prime as Ifrit.
Yeah.
He can only kind of semi-prime. That's as
Yeah.
far as he can go.
That's right.
And so you fight that battle as she's sort of like flying around, throwing ice, and lava keeps creeping in further, and she tries to freeze it and like keep it from burning.
The
you.
battle royale.
The battle royale of. You're right.
That motif keeps showing up. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, anyways, you beat this thing. They now have a free path to destroy the heart of the crystal. She sort of does this like freezing magic on his sword, and he goes.
Okay. Did that look familiar to you, by the way?
Yeah, we did a movie.
Yes.
Where we did almost the same effect.
Final Fantasy. Literally, this company paid us to make a video. It's got like, I don't know, 600,000 views now.
Oh, on the axe. Yeah.
On where basically this happens, and we had somebody freeze an axe so that it could defeat an enemy. Anyways, I just kind of wondered.
Same effect.
This is just like when we did the Mario parkour video, and then all of a sudden the next Nintendo Mario game was all about running in the streets, and his hat comes off, and like, what?
Did they see our videos?
I thought it was
I don't believe it, but you know.
Well, I know that they saw the Mario parkour one for
well,
sure.
I saw it, yeah.
But
I just don't know if Shigeru Miyamoto is like, that's a sick video. I'm going to make my next Mario.
You never
video
know,
based
dude. You
on
never know. Mario's hat. No, I don't know.
Anyway.
And then Tetris made them. Then Pixels came out. Okay, let's.
Actually, that's a movie that's coming out.
The Tetris
Isn't there
one
a Tetris movie?
It is coming out, but it's based on the actual history of the developer.
Oh, so it's talking about the guy who made Tetris.
So what we did Tetris
Not
that
like
I think
Tetris
inspired.
is attacking.
No, that was
Earth.
the movie. That turned into the movie Pixels.
Oh yeah.
So
that's
we
right.
made our Texas trailer. Then immediately afterwards, there was rumors about a Tetris movie going to be made.
Right.
It turned into Pixels with Adam Sandler.
Yeah.
But I still think so. There's at least three big,
I
like
do,
$100 million things.
I do believe that one. I do believe
that one for sure because it was so close.
That might have actually influenced some Hollywood script.
At the very least, they saw.
I don't think
as
a Mario was made based on a video we made, or a Mario game was.
I'll have to do
but
some.
Tetris,
some parallels.
because
it was split screen.
The whole point of that video was the idea is so stupid and ridiculous.
the Tetris,
and then they
attacking.
actually tried to make it for
like
real. And I was like, "Are you kidding me?" The whole point is it's a parody of how dumb Hollywood ideas are.
Right.
And then they tried to do the thing that we were parodying.
That's the thing, though, is that we didn't even realize the gold that we had stepped in. We just thought it was a funny internet joke. We should have been the one pitching that movie.
Written the script.
Oh man,
that would have been so stupid.
That would have been really stupid.
Okay. So they destroy the heart of the crystal.
And then Jill moves to the patriarch, who is a little scared. He's freaked out that we destroyed the crystal, because that was like their whole religion. So he's just like, what? What do we do now? And nobody knows what to do now, right?
Do you realize what you've done?
Do you realize?
Yeah. And so she's like, yeah, I do, actually. And she kills him. I actually really like the music that plays when the mother crystals get destroyed. It's like a really airy, sort of ethereal
like a
prelude piece. It's
I like
really
it too.
cool.
As you slowly see the crystals kind of dissolve and disintegrate, right?
Yeah.
And you hear that song playing. And it's even got that additional part to it. It's not just the arpeggio prelude.
Right.
It's also the dun, 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 dun.
That part that goes underneath it. Yeah,
really cool.
Harmony there. Good stuff. So they destroyed the crystal. People get away. You see them rowing away on their little boats. Imran is dead, and it seems that I would think the whole Iron Kingdom would be pretty much left in chaos at this point.
Yep.
They're pretty much not a factor anymore after this. This was a sin for which I had to atone, she says. Now I can continue at your side with my head held high. She's resolved it.
Because nobody else is going to be dying while she's away. She doesn't have to worry about that anymore.
Yep.
I love your reading so much better. I'm not reading any of my notes right now because they're wrong. I did not get the weight of this scene.
What she was actually dealing with. Okay, so the next scene we cut away to is Joshua. He's coughing and bleeding. This is how we know he's not the hooded guy we just saw because he's in some other place, coughing blood. And he says, for a moment there, I felt my brother's presence. I fear he is in Ultima's thoughts again. But why now after 5 years of silence?
So he hasn't felt that in a while.
No, it's been a long time since Ultima moved in this sort of like thinking of Clive, influencing Clive. I'm after him again. It's been
it's also been a long time since we destroyed a mother crystal, about 5 years. So.
Yes, exactly.
So there's a connection.
Connected to that, and so he's feeling this. Ultima is inside of him somewhere, and it's moving and affecting him. Probably in a because he's, like I said, I think last time or the time before, he's got to be constantly sort of exercising whatever phoenix power he is using
Always.
To keep
24/7.
So that this would be hastening his sort of petrification or the degradation of his body.
Yeah, whatever happens to the phoenix.
So
this is like how Jill was having to constantly use her powers in order to, create the mist and steam and ice and boiling water and all that.
Yeah.
That's just Joshua every day, 24/7, all the time.
Yeah.
He probably doesn't get to sleep much because of that.
Right. And he's getting really sick at this point.
It shows every time we see him. He's not looking well.
So Joshua is currently on his way to see Dion Lesage, the prince of Sambrec.
Bahamut,
Yeah. I met him once when we were children. He was a chivalrous soul even then, and has served his empire indefatigably. It's the second time they used that word.
Love that word.
Ever since. And you are confident that he will listen to what you have to say? Our world lurches ever closer to the abyss, and a hidden hand ushers us onward. Ultima's influence extends to every nation, Sambrec included. I don't know how, but he's doing it somehow, even though he's trapped inside of Joshua.
Yeah.
If His Highness is the man I believe him to be, and I pray that he is, this truth will not have escaped his notice. As the mother crystals fall, the eternal flame wavers, and the azure sky begins to bruise. How lucky we were to be blessed by the crystals, and yet how spoiled. I like this analogy. Like canaries in a gilded cage, growing fat on seed. But now the bars are closing in. We're in a
battle royale once again, man.
This is a battle royale for birds. The bars are closing in, and we must take flight.
Take flight.
Painful though it be to leave our home behind, it is what we must do to be free. Again, this is kind of what I think the theme of the game is all about. It's like breaking away from the fate
that binds you.
Yeah, and then freedom. But the cost of freedom is an issue here.
Because while the bird's in the cage, the bird gets fed.
Yes.
But once the bird flies out, you can fly wherever you want. But where's your next meal coming from?
You got to find it.
Yeah, go find a worm somewhere. Right? Yeah.
A blessing.
The sweat of your brow.
So he says, which is it that men cannot live without? A blessing that leads to damnation or freedom that leads to deprivation? I do not yet know the answer to that question. Do you, Clive?
And that is the question.
Yeah.
That's what Sid was struggling with. Of course, Sid felt very inclined in one way.
Yeah.
But these people, they're trying to exercise wisdom here. by really, really, because the consequences are going to be so severe either way.
Yeah.
Because both of these, either the people will be deprived or they'll be damned.
Yeah.
But you can't. It's going to be one or the other. Mm-hmm. And which awful end time are you going to force on your people?
Yeah.
Because there is no option that's just like everything's great.
Yep.
Yeah, that's rough. It's but the bird in the cage. There's something of a canary in the coal mine reference.
Oh, yeah.
There as well.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, we're the canary in the coal mine, right? And it's almost talking about how like the people there would be the victims of the greater issues that are plaguing like the whole world, right? And it's just like we're just the symptom of something bigger that's happening here, and that's what the canary was. It was supposed to be the little thing that just told the workers
just
to get out of the mine, because the battle royale gas is. Sorry, I don't know. Not every time that has sudden death. Sometimes sudden death in Smash Brothers, like the borders kind of close in.
That's true. That's true.
That's just
Smash Brothers, a battle royale.
It's part of making.
Maybe it was the first.
It's just part of making a tense situation more interesting. Is to have the borders close in.
Right.
Yeah, that's just drama right there.
Yeah.
But also Joshua believes that the Prince Dion, is like a good guy at heart.
Because he's met him in the past. He knows that he was
exactly.
Chivalrous
but it's probably been a while
at that time. Probably like 20 years.
18, 20 years. Yeah. It's probably been a while.
Yeah. So now we get a scene in the Dalmatian Republic where the Ministry of Law is meeting.
There was one comment on the Discord about the girl that he travels with, that Joshua travels with.
Yote or whatever her name is.
I don't remember her name. But she's trying to help him out, and he's just like, no. I need to bear this alone, basically.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing you can do for me. Don't worry about me. I think finally he accepts a potion from her. But he's like, no, I'm the Phoenix. I can heal myself. You give that potion to someone else who needs it.
Oh, that was another girl. I think it's the girl. Oh. It's the girl. It's a potion-selling girl.
Oh, the young girl.
That I've been saying, she's important.
Oh, I thought it was the girl that's with her all the time.
It's someone who's passing, like a refugee.
Well, I thought it
was...
moving
into Sambrec. This is how this girl got there.
Yeah.
And she comes up, I got a potion. I think it's
her.
the same one.
Oh, very nice.
Which is like, again, this girl is important for some reason. They keep showing her.
We'll see. And somehow she bumps into important people a lot. So if you'll forgive the Kingdom Hearts reference, the girl that is Shion.
Yes.
I have a hard time recognizing her, but she reminds me of Shion.
Yes.
And she's always with Roxas.
Yes.
No, Roxas. Yeah,
Roxas and Shion.
Yeah. And they're, and he's ditched the hood, but he's still Roxas, and she's Shion. That's kind of like what I want to say their names are. I don't know. You said Yote?
I think it's Yote. It's Jote, I think.
Oh, that probably means something. I'll get back to you guys next week.
Maybe I'm completely wrong, and I'm thinking of something else, but I think that's her name.
Okay, cool. So this was a little girl that he saw. I had not recognized her.
Yes.
At this point, I
didn't
later
either until I realized this girl keeps popping up. I was like, wait a second.
That's crazy.
It's her. She's the potion girl.
Wait, is she like Tom Bombadil?
Curatives, blah, 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 whatever. She's like going around selling them. Right?
Yeah, and she's willing to help everyone. She's trying to help the Dragoons. She's just seems to be
so
offering her potions to anyone.
She had been in
Dalmatia. Yeah, at the beginning of the 5-year skip.
And then a bunch of refugees are going to Sambrec now. And she's like in a caravan with people. And she sees him there, and she sort of breaks off and comes over and like, oh, do you need a potion?
And that's where he's like, give it to someone else.
Yes. And then she goes off on her way, and that's how she got into Sambrec.
That's great.
When she's trying to get the dragoon to take the potion, he's like, get away from me. Like,
yeah.
Or you'll feel the back of my hand.
That's right, where he's like, gonna smack her.
You're annoying. Go away.
But the thing to notice here is that Joshua is still very sick.
Yes.
But what's weird, because if we want to connect this to the beginning of the game, right? Joshua was sick from the beginning. It's possible that whatever he's holding back, he's been holding back his whole life. That this isn't a new thing. That this is something that has plagued him literally from the beginning of his life.
Yeah.
And that brings up the idea of maybe it's like something like his shadow, right? But if you just suppress it and suppress it and suppress it, it's going to have negative effects at some point. Yep. So we'll see.
You can't keep pushing it.
We'll see what happens there.
Okay, Dalmatian Republic, Ministry of Law. They are not successful in their campaign against the Empire, and they're discussing this.
Yeah.
They say the Empire cannot be allowed to maintain its illegitimate claim on the Dominion. However, they are suffering too many casualties in these battles because they're sieging the city, basically, right? And Kupka says there's a literal sea twixt you and your prize.
Yep.
The armies of Sanbreque need but sit back and watch as you harmlessly lap against their walls. They are dug in like ticks and seek to draw out this siege, knowing the capital's stores are nigh bottomless. I like that this line is in there because later on we find out that's not quite the case.
Yeah.
The capitals, again, the Twin Side city, the one with the big steeples where the empire is bore down right now, where they're waiting out the siege. They're thinking we can't keep the siege up. They can outlast us in there. Turns out that wasn't as true as they were assuming. And one of our wise rulers, he says, goaded into war without any thought as to what chaos it might reap. Republican soldiers starve while waiting for orders from Rondelau. And then one of the guys says, well, if you would just take the field, their bellies would be full by nightfall.
Yep.
He says, if I take the field, so too will Bahamut, and our duel will shake the island to its foundations. Instead of liberating the Dominion, you would doom it to destruction. There's no way we can fight over this island city. It's
right. It would just sink the whole thing.
Everyone would die.
Yeah.
You're freaking crazy. There's no way I can do that. Unless that is what you desire. And they're like, oh. And then the prime minister guy's like, well, if our learned advisor has a solution to propose, we'd be glad to consider it. Get to the point. Do you have something to add to this? And this is when Annabella comes walking into the scene, and they're all like, what the fetch?
Yes.
The Empress is here?
Yeah. And with the kid, with her son.
Yes, Olivier.
We're going to talk about him in a minute, but yeah, she just shows up, and it's like, whoa, hello.
What is the meaning of this, Lord Kupka? What is going on? And he says, what it means is, I am disinclined to advise you any longer. So basically saying, I'm out.
Yeah.
I don't care about your war anymore. I'm just going to kill Sid now. And she's going to help me do it, and you guys can just die in your useless war or whatever, or retreat. Or I don't care, but I'm not helping you anymore.
When she moves on to something else, she completely abandons the previous thing.
Yeah.
Which somebody had brought up previously as well when Rosaria was being destroyed. And it's like, doesn't the queen realize the value to the kingdom of the bearers? I think that's when Wade says she doesn't take thought to the bearers. She doesn't take thought to the realm at all anymore.
Yes.
It just doesn't matter.
Doesn't care about the realm.
She's totally willing to waste it for her own gain.
She is also trying to work towards some new world. She's trying to basically end this one and bring a different one in where it would be made in the image of Olivier, the
of
emperor.
Her son. Yeah.
So she's also seeking a new world, but a bad one. And Clive is seeking a new world that would be better.
Yeah.
Both are trying to overthrow the current world. That's their goal.
Competing ideas, right?
Yeah.
And this is when Kupka then tells her, it's here, right? That Clive is the new Sid.
Yeah, he figured that out. And
Annabella, she kind of doesn't, I don't think she didn't know that yet.
Well, I think
seems like she doesn't want to believe
She's
it.
denying it because it looks bad
for
that her son.
Yeah,
he's
okay.
like, that's not true. How dare you utter these lies? That's not the case.
But she's
just trying to save face.
No, sure. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, anyways, she then says, I came here with my son, this son, not the guy you're talking about. That doesn't exist. I came here with my son, Olivier, not to entertain your baseless accusations, but to put an end to the senseless hostilities between our nations. So she wants the war to end too. So their deal is, I will abandon these terrible leaders of the Dalmatian Republic to their own ends, and I will go take my force, which will no longer be fighting on this front. We'll go attack Rosalith. You'll abandon it because that was your province. So she will leave that and let me attack it, and so that I can draw Clive out to kill him. That's not going to be a problem for you, right? Killing your son?
I will destroy your whole city and murder your son. And she's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
fair trade.
And so that this is a deal there in order to try to end the Dalmatian siege of the city, right?
Yeah.
So that was their deal.
Her son, by the way,
something is up with him.
He is comatose, not completely. He's there. He moves. He's a puppet. He just seems like a puppet, which is great because he is holding as a toy a lifeless puppet doll where the arms are just kind of flapping around like a little Pinocchio, just like a little doll. And then Annabella is holding him in that same way. Like he's just a doll. He can't even really stand. I don't think you don't really even see him hold his head up very well. He's basically just like attached to her, and she's like his doll.
Yep.
Right? So she's manipulating the strings on his doll the way a child would a Pinocchio doll. There's a word for those kind of dolls. I can't remember. Marionette?
Oh, a
marionette doll.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what we're seeing here. And it's really creepy because you see this kid's eyes every now and then, and it's like there's nothing going on there,
Yep.
right? He's not even present. Like,
Yep.
but she's so proud of him.
Yep.
She brings him everywhere. She's stroking his
dotes
hair.
on him all the
she
time.
loves him, and he is okay. Maybe there's some secret.
He
There's
doesn't
probably
even seem human.
he doesn't. He seems like a puppet. He seems like a not real thing that she's
Yeah.
just like making real through some dark agreement with the forces of evil. Like, hey, a demon spirit inhabit this body and pretend that it's like a real thing. And yeah, it's really creepy.
Yeah.
But I like it. But this kid probably will be immensely powerful later on. But my knee-jerk reaction is, what? It's the least powerful of all three of your kids. What are you doing?
Yeah.
That kid's going to be the new emperor?
Yep.
Jeez.
Good line here from Annabella to Kupka. He says,
Yes.
a woman
As
by
he
the name of
leaves.
Benedicta, Sid took the life of someone dear to me.
Yeah.
So I swore to take his in turn. This would not be disagreeable to you, I take it. You would finally be rid of the stain on your noble name.
There you go, yeah.
In return, I will leave Sambrec in your capable hands, your imperial majesty. And then as he leaves, she says, and all for the love of a common whore. Dominant or no, one cannot hide one's breeding. So she's obsessed with bloodlines and the
then
purity of the blood.
Beasts belong with beasts.
Yes.
Is what
yes.
she says,
Beasts
yeah.
will ever belong with beasts. There
Yes.
are greater things in store for you, my darling Olivier. Soon
Yeah,
enough
so
you shall
everything, yeah.
be the crown prince of Sambrec, and when your father goes to meet great Grieger, you shall be emperor of all you survey. The old order shall come tumbling down, and you will rebuild the world in your glorious image. And he's holding a toy soldier that has glowing blue eyes.
Yeah, its eyes were glowing
Yeah.
there. I thought that was I would guess that that he's not a real boy, but that the doll is a real power, that the doll is what's animating him.
I see what you're saying.
That it's the doll's power that's animating him, and that he's maybe like an FF9 situation, maybe.
Oh, okay.
Something like that. Maybe. He's a bit of a manufactured person. Yeah, I think everyone will know what that means. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Olivier means olive tree, by the way.
Oh, I did not know that. I never look up what names mean. It's just you always have it. You always have it.
Not always. But when it's something interesting, like olive tree, when it's something that relates to some of the more archetypal themes that we're seeing be manifest, and I hope that it might be related in some way, then I'll bring it up. But I've never played the game before, so I don't know if that's important to bring up or not.
Yeah. Uncle Byron shows up.
Yeah, the guy's
randomly
hilarious. I love Uncle Byron.
Yeah. And he's just like, whoa, Byron, like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
So he's come to help. He's brought some money for the coffers and basically talks to Vivian about what he knows. He saw Dalmatian ships sailing through Port Isolde, which is the city that he is in, which is used to be a Rosarian port city near the coast. And he saw them sailing. They went past him, past Port Isolde, and they went into Rosalith. And so her hearing this news, she's able to sort of put together, okay, here's what's going on. This is what they're doing. Now, I was a little bit confused about the strategy here because Byron works to evacuate tons of people from Rosalith.
Yeah.
Basically, it's just like the Empire's, what was the term that they used? Their token force that was left over. Because like most of their army has been withdrawn now that they've taken the Crystalline Dominion. They basically just have small forces and garrisons there.
We need some enemies to fight.
Yeah, well, like it's still their territory.
Yeah.
But they're not guarding it very closely because it's not a priority. Yeah. Rosalith doesn't matter. What matters is the Crystalline Dominion. What matters is a place where we can have a Mother Crystal. And a new base of operations, so to speak. So they've left this token force there. So what I'm confused about is because Kupka knows who Clive is. He knows Sid is Clive Rossfield. Why does he sail to Rosalith and start attacking the Empire and just like breaking the buildings down instead of going after Byron? That's who he should have gone after immediately if he wanted to draw Clive out. It's like that's the person of interest that would make him come to me.
Right.
If you really want to make
and
sure
there was no secret that they were related.
Yeah,
right?
it's but all he does is he goes and says, I'm attacking your house. And as if that's like so important to Clive, like, oh no, I have to go there.
Not my house.
Now
Maybe
I was
Kupka has a
confused.
nice house.
I was confused about it for a long time because they don't explain this anywhere except in the ATL. So I took a picture of it, and what it says is, after learning that Sid the Outlaw, the man that slew the love of his life, Benedicta Harmon, still lives, he takes his personal guard, tasks his personal guard with capturing and torturing bearers in order to draw out his nemesis and take his revenge. So they didn't show that. At all.
That was just in the...
But that's what he's doing to draw Clive out, is it's specifically attacking the bearers of Rosalith. And so Clive's like, okay, I'm not going to let him do that. I'm going to go out there even though I know this is a trap. Right?
Yeah.
Because they're all like, this is exactly what he wants you to do. Like, why would you go there?
Yeah.
But in the context of the scene, I was like, wait, he's
He's
throwing
missing
rocks at your house.
Yeah,
and so like you're gonna like go there and like take the bait
Yeah.
when he should have gone after Byron. But what he's really doing is going after the bears. I think they should have done a better job of showing that in the scenes instead of just putting that in the ATL.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's why Clive is determined. Like, he's not just going to sit by and let him do that. So that's sort of the next mission, is they're going to head to Rosalith and confront Kupka. And it's like, it's time. It's no longer cool that this guy is alive. Like, he has to die now. There's just, we can't keep living with him sort of in his shadow. Like, all the people here are so afraid of him. And it's like, you know, they're looking over their shoulders all the time. Oh, will Titan show up and like find us again? It's like, it's time to end this for the people here, to kind of like, you know, to bring justice to what happened 5 years ago. I'm conflicted how to feel about the fact that Clive just walks into it anyways because I just can't stand to see bearers being tortured or whatever, like we brought up.
I have one thing to say about that. I don't think Clive would have done this except for his blind revenge, I guess. He walked into traps on purpose when he was going for revenge because he didn't care if he died or not.
Yes.
However, there is something about his name being Sid and him seeking to embody the identity of Sid that leads me to say that, because what did Sid say? An episode or two ago, he said, without a plan, if you don't have a plan...
opportunity for growth and change.
Then an opportunity for growth and change.
Yeah.
You be reckless, do the right thing, go into the situations, who cares if it's a trap or not?
Yes.
And I feel like maybe the logical thing is to not do that. However, Clive, in trying to be like Sid, is doing the reckless things that Sid did that got him killed early.
Yes, I think you're right. And there's a part of me that's like, okay, he's just embodying Sid's sort of legacy.
His ethos.
But I feel like this is a trope that bothers me where it's always like, they know it's a trap, but we're going to do it anyways.
Yeah.
And
every game we've
played. Why can't they at least have like a counter trap or a plan that we know that this is what he's doing, so we're going to do something unexpected. We're going to make him think we're doing what he wants us to do, but really we're going to do this.
Yeah.
I just wish one time that they would actually plan ahead. And be doing like a chess game where it's like, we know what you think we're going to do, but we're really going to do that.
And if you find out later, like Ocean's 11 style, like, oh, I didn't realize they planned this all.
Yeah,
that's still
fine.
cool. That's still cool.
Fine.
Yeah.
I don't have to be privy to the plan now, but at least have one.
They should have one. And even though Sid didn't
happen to resolve itself magically somehow, because there's too many things that had to go, like, basically, Kupka is a moron if this was his plan, because again, when
true.
there's a point to that. I mean, he's Titan, he's the big brute guy, but what I liked about him is that
he was pretty cunning before.
He was cunning.
Yeah.
They didn't play him off as just this dumb brute.
You're right. He kind of became that after Benedicta died.
I also liked that he's not as wise as he made himself look in
Earlier.
the talks and things like that. I like that too.
The lion chasing after the hare.
Because that's what is it? Is it Harmond or whoever the guy from Waloed is who saves him says about him? His head was full of rocks or whatever.
Yes.
Okay, I like all of that, so I'm not saying anything about that. But this is going back to what we said. Was it at the very beginning of this podcast, or maybe the last one?
Last one.
Evil people, please. Like you gave advice for evil people.
Yes.
I don't remember where
I
we said
recanted
that.
though. I recanted the advice. If you recall.
Because you recanted the advice, Hugo Kupka captures them and throws him into a dungeon instead of killing him right there. Now I know that I understand he wanted. Anyways, I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I'm trying to make a point about plans.
Yes, yes.
The only reason that this stupid walking into the trap thing worked out is because villains are always morons and they delay taking revenge or killing you for no reason.
Yes.
Because that's just the way it goes. This scenario was my least favorite of the game so far.
Okay, sure. I would agree.
Partially,
with that,
or maybe even mostly because of this.
Yeah.
It was a really stupid trap, a really stupid, obvious trap, in which, and again, until I read the ATL later, that he was torturing bearers, it appeared as if he was just attacking his house.
Breaking empty
and
buildings.
I have memories and I'm attached to that house. I can't let him do that.
I'll risk
I'm going
my
to
life
walk
and my
into
friend's
his trap
life
and bring my girlfriend with me.
And Gav and my dog.
It's so stupid.
Yes.
It's so stupid.
On
it's
its face without knowing.
Impossible for me to take this seriously because
ATL,
of it.
yes.
Now that I know bearers were being tortured, it gives more credence to it. I still think it would have been stronger had he already captured Byron. And he's like, I'm going to kill your uncle unless you come here and meet me.
Yeah.
And he sent a letter or something even, right?
Yeah.
I still think that would have been strong because then it's like, okay, now I've got to go. I know it's a trap, but I'm not going to let him torture my uncle. They get a little bit stronger of like an urgency to it. But even still, make a freaking plan because obviously, anyway, they just walk into it. They fight this curl monster or whatever. At the end of the fight, Kupka's got Jill now in the handcuffs.
Okay,
the
and
magic
how
handcuffs.
he got her too?
I know.
Okay.
It just feels like...
Because
how did you not notice he walked in there?
With like 12 dudes. And they're just standing there. And just like, boom.
He got me.
Oh, darn.
No resistance. Like, I don't like this whole scenario has been the weakest part in the game to me.
Yeah, but once again, as you're talking about these like more tropey cliche things, it's about the execution as opposed to the thing itself. Right?
Yes.
It's not that people never go into traps. It's that the way that they presented it as having no plan and then being stupid is that's what you're sick of.
That's what they always do.
It's not the fact that somebody was willing to.
Somehow they make it through anyways.
Yes, of
even
course.
though it was the wrong decision, even though it was definitely dumb to do, they just they figured it out. They winged it and they made it out alive.
Isn't that great?
I don't like that. Make a plan. Make it clever. Like, have your heroes smarter than this, please. But even dumber than this is he's got him where he wants him. So, like, he's got her.
He literally had her, like, he was hurting her. He could have just squeezed and broken her neck. He, like, had her by the throat, right?
Yeah. And he could have made Clive watch her die.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to kill you.
No, then he could have given Clive her head.
Yes, right
he
there.
He could have squeezed her head off and delivered it to Clive in a package.
Right fetching there could have happened in the exact moment. And then he could have killed Clive, but instead he's like, we're going to do an execution later. And I'm going to throw you in a dungeon.
Yeah.
And then...
Don't worry, the dungeon has one guard. There's one guard in the dungeon. So you know.
Now we got to have a prison escape sequence, which is another trope I hate.
I know. All to get back to where we were 10 minutes ago. Anyways, it just seemed superfluous.
I don't like the scenario. The writing in the scenario is really weak, in my opinion, because then they come down to get him because, like, you're going to have to watch your girlfriend get killed, right? And she's going to be executed, and you have a front row seat.
But not
then
right
they
now.
Start. Yeah. They start the execution even though Clive's not there.
I know.
They had not walked up. They had not brought him there to watch.
I didn't.
And they're like, gonna kill her. I'm like, what the fetch is going on, dude? This is ridiculous. This is written so badly. It's awful. Like, the whole scenario is just really bad.
Oh my gosh. He wasn't. That's so stupid.
He wasn't even
my God.
there.
So if he
Anyway.
had killed her right then, he would have been there. But instead, he waited. Okay.
This is why
Wonderful. Just,
it
that
would have
is
been way better to be like,
hysterical.
okay, guys, I know that this is a trap. They've got my uncle, though. I'm not going to let them torture him. We're going to go save him. But here's what we're going to do.
Plan, yeah.
Fade to black.
Perfect. Yes.
And then you have it unfold in this
that was a
exciting,
good plan, Clive.
action sequence in
That
which
you
they
didn't
did
know.
something unexpected,
Yeah.
and they knew what Kupka was going to do. They're
Yeah.
smarter than him. They were 3 steps ahead. Whatever. They played 4D chess. Like, that would have been way better.
Yeah.
Instead of this, which I thought was really bad.
And here's the part that becomes the most difficult about the scene, and we will stop ragging on the game after this, I promise. Because
we just had Mix
I
say-
really like what's coming.
Mix just said, "Oh man, please remember to reaffirm that FF16
That's
is a good
become like
game."
a Twitter like meme, by the way.
So yeah,
it's a good game,
there's a-
and we are about to really praise. I am at least.
I like
the
this
fight
game.
with Kupka.
I like
Kupka.
this game.
King Kupka. But
Yes, exactly.
King Kupka fight is on point. It is fire. I loved it. But Deus Ex Machina with that dog,
Yes.
right? What the
I
only,
ended up really liking that.
Oh, I like that they
Yeah.
did it.
Yes.
But she would have died if that didn't happen. Really?
Yes.
Like, whoa, that's
Have you talked?
kind of crazy
Have you
to me.
talked to?
I have afterwards.
Harp.
Yes.
What's his name?
Harpocrates.
Yeah, and he explained the Frost Wolf and the connection with
Yes.
Shiva thing. Okay.
Now, I get how they explain it later, which
Yes.
is fine because they didn't know before.
Right.
But the fact that it happened right then, and even the fact that it happened then was because Jill was going to die. Like, I get why it all
Yes,
happened.
Right.
Deus Ex Machina can
felt-
still be,
Yeah,
the machine
convenient.
can make sense, but it's still God out of the machine, right?
Yes,
it's
sure.
still that, right?
Yes.
And that just put the icing on the cake of a bunch of events that I wasn't a huge fan of.
Yes.
But after that, it gets really cool.
Yes. Yes.
Like right after that.
Yes. It and yeah, basically everything that happens after that where okay, so let's step back for a second. Kupka arrives, captures Clive, throws him in a dungeon. Gav is not captured. So Gav comes to get him out.
Yeah.
The dog
Torgal's
Torgal
not
also
captured.
was not captured. He escaped.
Yeah.
So he's wandering around.
Yeah,
the
Wolf
place.
Link. He even has the cuff thing on his arm.
he does. You're
It's
right.
straight up Wolf Link.
Yep. So Clive arrives. He's sort of peeking through the door as they're about to do the execution that he's
Yeah.
supposed to be witnessing, that they're just going to do without him anyways. And they were
Kupka
supposed
would
to be
have been
waiting
pissed.
for him.
Yeah.
The whole point was to make him watch. Anyway, he's watching this. He nods at Torgal. Torgal runs in and he sort of primes. And it's just like,
that's
holy
right.
crap. Like, what's going on with that? But he primes
dog icon.
and saves her. Gavin, Clive run in. There's a big battle. They get her out. And then Clive goes in to confront Kupka while they hold off anybody who's left outside in the courtyard. So
Kupka wasn't even going to watch. Like, anyway. So he was. It's almost like he knew this plan isn't going to work.
It's a stupid plan.
I'm just going to wait until they inevitably break out of the prison and then come find me. Then we're gonna throw down.
So
Now, this fight is really good, by the way.
I loved the energy
Yes.
where Clive and Kupka meet each other in this scene. There was something like really, I don't know, it just hits you. There's this alpha energy of two dudes who are powerful and unafraid of each other.
Unafraid.
Who are usually very
Yeah.
good at intimidating the other.
Right.
And they're just meeting each other with the same energy,
Yeah.
and you just feel pumped as the
Dude,
fight begins. It's really good.
It's Mike Tyson versus Evander Holyfield.
Yeah.
Straight up.
And
it's
it's-
just like
it's-
these like triple alpha guys that are just about to go at it. Like, oh man.
The dialogue's really good too, because it's like Kupka had assumed that the original Cid had killed Benedicta, which leads to kind of what I'm talking about, where he gives off this presence of cunningness that he's smart.
Yeah.
But it's actually really stupid to have assumed that.
Yeah.
Like he just went straight there. Oh, Cid did this
And didn't
think at all that this, it just doesn't make sense for Cid to have done that.
Sure.
It would have been the dumbest thing on earth for Cid to
Right.
have done this. So he's not the smartest dude, but he presents himself as if he is.
Right.
Which I like about the character.
When it comes to battling, he has a ton of tricks up his sleeve.
Yes.
Like he is cunning in fighting. He's just not so cunning in the lead up to
like
the fight.
the politics and the strategy and this kind of
yeah.
thing. So, anyway, he assumed that Sid had killed Benedicta, cut off her head and sent it to her in a box. So he's like, well, now that Sid is dead and you took his name, you're going to have to answer for his crime.
You've just taken his sins as well.
My best option to get the revenge since I can't do it,
So if you steal someone's identity, do you then get punished for their crimes? You
according
would
to
at
Kupka,
first.
yes.
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
But I love the answer to that, right? Where he's like, I will answer for my own crimes. He just comes straight up to him
and
and
he's like, I killed.
He tried
Benedicta.
to save her.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And she was beyond, even though she was way beyond saving.
Yeah.
So I did what he couldn't do.
Yeah.
He's purposefully like pissing him off. It's like
it's a smart strategy.
It's actually, in a way, it's not, because you don't want him to be. It's in the sense that maybe he would
want him
not
to wildly swing and be irrational, right?
But in the sense
that's
that
why people
I
trash
don't
talk.
want him at his full passion.
Oh, because of
anger,
priming.
Right?
That's true.
For priming, for sure. But
you don't
like,
want that.
It's almost like Clive is like, I want to see you at your like hardest core.
Okay.
Because I'm still going to beat you.
Okay.
It's like
that's like an honorable thing.
Not
to
even
do.
honorable. Just I'm going to beat you because I'm better than you.
Sure. Okay.
I am more angry than
in
you.
your face.
I
I'm
am
more angry.
righteous in this than you.
Sure.
And I want you at your very best, so I can kill you at your best. That's cool. That's how alpha I am.
Yeah.
Like that's the sense I got from this.
Oh, that's great.
It was like, I don't want any disadvantage. I want you at your like full throttle, and I'm gonna kill you anyways.
Yeah.
That's how pissed I am at you.
Well, Titan, King Kupka, he killed tons of people at that hideout. Like personally,
Yes.
like there's that shot of him just outside the hideout, just punching it. And,
Yes.
so many people died that Clive knew.
Yes.
Directly because of Kupka. So Clive is also, he is equally as pissed off at Kupka for the death that he caused.
Yes.
I think he brings it up too, because Kupka's like, "Oh, I'm so wronged. They hurt me so much," and Clive's like, "Yeah, how many people did you kill?"
Yeah.
And Kupka's like, I'm not answering that. Let's fight to the death. Like, okay, man. Like, look inside for 2 seconds.
Because he talks about how his dream with Benedicta was to be the king of the world. She would be my queen, and we would rule together. And you crushed that dream.
Oh,
and
man,
how many
you ruined my dream, dude.
How many dreams did you destroy? Like, what are you talking about? How many people have you killed?
And Kupka's like, doesn't even. I don't think he says anything.
He doesn't care.
He's just like, we're fighting. We're ending this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Sid did everything in his power to save that woman, though she was long past saving. And so I did what he couldn't. It was me all along, Hugo. It was you. You killed her. And he's like, I did.
I did.
He's like,
he owns it right away.
He is like driving that in. He's flipping the table. He's like you're saying, he's basically playing him in the scene. And I love that energy that he's meeting him with. Then I am fortunate indeed. I had thought the most I could wish for was to take the life of one he loved, just as he did to me. But it seems I was wrong, and I shall have my revenge. We shared a dream that I'd be the king of the world, or he went through that, but you crushed that dream. Hear me, Rossville, you will pay for what you've done. I'll tear you apart with my bare hands. And what of you? How many people have you killed? How many dreams have you crushed? You're not the only one who has seen their world fall apart around them. You'll get no pity from me, Kupka.
Good.
No pity and no mercy. And the
mercy.
The delivery of that line was just awesome. Like, it's so cool.
That was so good. But then their next line, where they're like, now
die
they say it together. They both say it. So good. It's so good. But also, we didn't mention that Kupka punched Clive's dad's favorite chair.
Yeah, I destroyed the throne. Yep.
Clive is pissed about that.
Yep.
How dare you? That was my dad's favorite chair.
Yep.
You broke it, you jerk. So then the fight happens. It's like trading blows. You beat him, right? Mm-hmm. But then the cutscene plays with him beating you until you have this genius move to feign. And
cuts his hands off.
Cut his hands off.
Now, I was talking
really
about this before the podcast. I'm getting a little bit pissed as I play this game.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of elements that were in a novel I finished 2 years ago but have not published yet. And now I'm pissed because people are going to think I stole my ideas from this game. But I promise you I finished this book long before this game came out or any trailers had been released, I think. So now I'm either going to have to change that or hope that I've executed it better. But anyway, the more it's going along, I'm like, man, like, come on.
You know, that's been happening to me, but with Hogwarts Legacy.
Oh, have you been playing that?
I had some really cool Magic ideas years before that game came out.
Oh.
And
have you played the game?
No, but I've been watching. So I have been watching a playthrough of it in Korean. I found this Korean guy who plays through the whole game, and I'm just like, really. I'm pretty upset at some of the stuff that they did because I'm just saying Hogwarts Legacy stole a lot of ideas from me, and I will hold that until I die. They stole it. They plucked it from my dreams.
They crushed your dream, dude.
They crushed my dreams. Oh, how could they?
Anyways, I was pissed because something, I'm not going to describe what happens in my novel, but something not exactly the same but similar happens, and I was really proud of it. It was like one of my favorite moments from the novel, and then they have it in this game, and now people are going to think I took. It's like, no, dude. No, I did not. Anyway.
Okay, so here's my note from this part. Cutting off his hands was really sweet. And then my note here says, my shadow enjoyed that very much. Oh, but I would never do that or secretly want to do that. No, of course not. I would never.
Yeah.
But I really liked watching it for some reason.
Yep.
Anywho, that was really unexpected, right? And it's almost like a fate worse than death. You see Kupka a little bit later on in a cutscene. He's trying to like eat because spoiler, I guess he doesn't die. He doesn't die here. He's trying to eat without hands or with these fake replacement hands. And he just can't. Like cutting,
that was another thing where I was like, he's an idiot. Because like, how is he trying to literally pick up a fork with hands that don't
they're just showing. He's just pissed. Like we gave him almost a fate worse than death. Like it's like you're going to live as a cripple from now on, and you're so powerful, and you're not going to be able to use it.
Yeah,
right. That's what Clive did for him. It was very good.
Yeah. But anyway, Kupka cuts the hands off, and Clive is about to cut his head off.
Yes.
But then he starts taking the blessing of Titan.
I know. How does...
He's like, no,
it's
not
only
again,
happened
not
a couple
now.
times.
And he's like, oh, crap. And so he falls over, head splitting, And so Kupka gets back up, like, oh, I'm going to kill you now. But then...
Well, he calls him a son of a whore. I thought that was very interesting.
Yes.
He must really not like Annabella.
Yes. What's his name? I think his last name is
Harbrand.
Harbrand or something. But his first name is really weird. It's like Slepnir or something like that.
Harbard. Yeah, Harbard.
He's the Lord Commander of Waloed. So Waloed dudes have showed up to stop Kupka from being killed.
Yeah, lucky them.
And that surprises Gav and Jill and Clive. Like, what's Waloed doing here? What the fuck?
Yeah.
But he basically stops him. He punches him. This little dude just poof, like knocks him out and carries him on his shoulder,
on his back
out.
Yeah, this was crazy. I was like, who is that? Because they don't tell you much up front.
Yeah.
And he kind of looks maybe like Joshua or something. Like he just looks like a blonde.
At first, I thought he was Olivier.
Dude. Oh, ooh.
And then it turned out it wasn't him, but that's what I thought at first. I was like, whoa, there's the kid. Whoa, crap, he's strong. But that guy kind of looks like Olivier.
Oh, he does.
And I think there's a reason for this.
Okay.
Talking about puppets and things. But, like, I don't know for sure. But I'm thinking that this dude, whatever his name is, Commander Harbard. I think he and Olivier are, like, the same type of being. Ooh. They look really similar to me.
They do. That is interesting.
Yeah.
I was actually going to draw a parallel between Olivier and, this is just a half-baked thought, but Olivier and the girl selling potions.
Yes.
Right. But that one's way more interesting. I'll have to think about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, so he carries him out, and so it's like, okay, we're going to have to go after him later.
Oh, and he calls us Mythos, too.
Yes, he does. He refers to
Clive
as Mythos.
It's like, okay, you're connected to Ultima somehow. Who are you? And we haven't seen him before.
Another time, Mythos, and then he walks out.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, what is Waloed doing here? And this was the note I read earlier when Byron shows up at the hideout and says, we saw the ships and whatnot. And they go, oh, I get it. Waloed showed up. There's no way that they sailed with a guy with arms cut off, all the way
Yeah.
around in harsh, conditions in the waves to
Yeah.
get back to the Dalmatian Republic.
port.
They took him over the land to get him home and to bathe in the ether and try to heal his wounds
Right.
quickly. Waloed is involved in this somehow.
Right.
They did not want him killed. I don't know why, but that's what you're going to have to go find out. And so that's Clive's next mission, which we're going to have to hold off for next time.
We are.
He's going to go finish the job. He's going to go kill Kupka, but he's got to go into the Dalmatian Republic, into Drake's Fang itself, which is where he lives, basically. Like, his
That's
house
right.
is inside the crystal.
It's like right around the heart, like the heart of the crystal.
Yeah. And so, anyway, but that's where we have to stop for now. Is there anything else up to that point you had notes on? I'm trying to see if I skipped
No.
anything. I don't think so.
Hold on, let me look at this. No. I do have one general note, but I'm going to hold off on it till later. So, yeah, that's where we're
I
at.
put Tarya is not going to allow Jill to leave this time. She's ordered
Yeah.
to rest.
Yep.
So it's just going to be Byron and Clive going off together. Byron decides he's going to go because he's on his way somewhere else. I think to Kevnir or someplace like that. The Free Cities. He's going there to do some trade.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, it'll just be a short detour. I'll go with you, and then we'll split off when you head to the Fang, and I'll go do my business. So you're traveling with Uncle Byron for this particular mission.
It's really sad that Uncle Byron's going to die because I really, I'm like 99% sure. I really like his character.
Yeah, I like him too. So yeah, that's gonna be it for this week. Next,
All right, everyone.
next time we'll
Next
we'll
time,
do
Kupka, the final
battle
the King Kupka battle,
with
which
Titan.
was so fun.
It's actually really
so
good.
fun.
It was my favorite
of
by
the icon
far
battles.
of the icon battles.
Mine too.
Yeah, that
Every
was pretty
stage of it was just it was so good. Okay.
Yeah, and then I guess we'll see how far we get. My plan was to get all the way up to Bahamut, which is the next one. I don't know if we will or not because we're gonna have to cover this, but we'll see. But play up at least through Bahamut, which is the icon battle after Titan, and then you will have been caught up to where we'll have got to for the next episode. Till next week, peace out, fellas.